Welcome into the light. St. John Paul II instituted Divine Mercy Sunday on the second Sunday of Easter in response to revelation made to St. Faustina and reported by her in her diary. I'm thrilled to talk with you today about Divine Mercy Sunday, especially in the Jubilee Year of Mercy. If you're interested in learning more, please get a copy of St. Faustina's diary and study it. It is said that when St. John Paul II was almost assassinated, the only two things he asked for was the rosary and the diary of St. Faustina. We have a cenacle in our church, and since Good Friday, they've been praying the Divine Mercy Chaplet. This novena contains wonderful prayers of mercy for us in our world. However, the purpose of Divine Mercy Sunday is not to allow devotees of Divine Mercy to have a prayer party. The purpose of Divine Mercy Sunday is to help bring sinners back to Christ's church. St. John Paul II instituted the Feast of Mercy to elevate the octave day at Easter. At least three doctors of the church have called today the grand finale of the Easter season. Divine Mercy Sunday becomes then recognition of this important day. As a people of God, then in our families and communities, let us promote this day of mercy so that the church is as full on this great day as it is on Easter Sunday. In the psalm we sung, you heard, His mercy endures forever. I choose to believe that in fact it does. And I choose to call on God's mercy in the sacrament of reconciliation. Today's gospel has two distinct parts. In the first part, Jesus comes to the disciples and gives them the gift of the Holy Spirit. He breathed on them. What a terrific visual. Try to picture the breath of God. In other accounts, the Holy Spirit comes upon the disciples and it appears as tongues of fire. What do you imagine the Holy Spirit to look like? In this gift of the Holy Spirit, Jesus gives the disciples the gift to enter into God's mercy with the words, whose sins you forgive are forgiven them, and whose sins you retain are retained. Because it is a gift, it's available to everyone who believes. When is the last time you went to reconciliation? I know many went for the communal service we had here, but I also know that service wasn't nearly full. Seek God's mercy, especially in the sacrament of reconciliation. Now the gospel goes on to discuss doubting Thomas, who wasn't present when Jesus appeared to the rest. We all know the story. Thomas famously says he won't believe unless he can see the nail marks in his hands and put his fingers into the wounds of Christ. It's interesting to me that Jesus doesn't immediately return. One wonders what Thomas thought as a week went by and all the other disciples filled with the Holy Spirit are going about the Lord's business, bringing new people to the faith, curing the ill and forgiving their sins. Finally, Jesus returns to the disciples, and the gospel tells us he comes to them through locked doors to confront doubting Thomas. Thomas sees and believes with the words, my Lord and my God. Jesus challenges Thomas by calling him blessed, but reminding him that blessed are those who have not seen and have believed, like you and me. Not many of us have had the experience that Thomas has had. In his book, The Name of God is Mercy, Pope Francis suggests that we, like Thomas, have the ability to see and believe. Every time we touch the poor, the prisoner, the refugee, the persecuted, the unwed mother, and the elderly, we are placing our hands in the wounds of Jesus. Bringing God's mercy to creation is messy business, and we are, by these acts of mercy, touching the very wounds of Christ that exist in our world. The Lord spoke to St. Faustina in very clear language, now some 80 years ago. Mankind will not have peace until it turns to the fount of my mercy. Tell souls about this great mercy of mine, because the day of justice is near. I'm prolonging the time of mercy for the sake of sinners. While there is still time, let them have recourse to the fount of my mercy. Certainly, Pope Francis was thinking of these words and others who have called for God's mercy. St. John the 23rd, Blessed St. John Paul II, when he declared this the Jubilee year of mercy. As Father Francis told us at the beginning, Jubilee years are extraordinary. The Holy Father recognizes our world's great need for mercy. Look around. You can see this country's need for mercy. Listen, and you'll still hear the cries for mercy coming from your fellow parishioners in their most trying times. Pope Francis in his book states, in short, we are called to show mercy because mercy has first been shown to us. Pardoning offenses becomes the clearest expression of merciful love, and for us Christians it is imperative from which we cannot excuse ourselves. Mercy is the very foundation of the Church's life. All of her pastoral activity should be caught up in the tenderness she makes present to believers. Nothing in her preaching and in her witness to the world can be lacking in mercy. In other words, just like we heard in the Lord's Prayer, forgive those that trespass against you. I want to conclude this reflection by discussing the image of divine mercy. You can see this image everywhere, and it was given to St. Faustina in 1931. As Faustina gazed upon the Lord that day, he said, "Paint an image according to the pattern you see with the signature, Jesus, I trust in you. I promise that the soul who venerates this image will not perish. I desire that this image be venerated throughout the world. By means of this image, I shall grant grace to many souls." You'll note as you look at the image the two rays of light that emerge from the Sacred Heart of Jesus. The pale rays stand for the waters of baptism, which saves our soul, and the red ray stands for the precious blood. The heart of Jesus was opened by the lance, but out of this wound flows his precious mercy. The Lord told Faustina, "These rays shield souls from the wrath of my Father." And an easy way to remember divine mercy is to use the ABCs. A stands for ask for mercy. B stands for be merciful. And C says completely trust in Jesus. Please look it up on the computer, Google Divine Mercy, and see the image and use the ABCs. God bless you.